Hey, how's everybody doing today? All right, let everybody get added in here. And okay, so if you guys can hear us, thank y'all for joining. My name is George Abdelmessih. I'm the head of sales here at Financial Sense. And with me, I've got Jenna, which I don't know which side of the screen she's on for you guys, right? She's over here to my right. So, excited to have you on, excited to be able to come in and actually talk with you, kind of show everybody a little bit about the automations that you've created in the system and how you're using Financial Sense as well. So with that, I'll let you kind of make your introduction, say hi to everybody, and get us started.
Well, I appreciate the invite. As a semi-new user to Financial Sense, we've gone through about 2 busy seasons with the workflow system and have greatly enjoyed it. And we have worked through our templates through those 2 busy seasons, always trying to add improvements and make better use of the automations. So essentially, what my goal will be is to walk through our templates from lead tracking to onboarding the lead, and also an example tax workflow that makes use of various automations, including automated client emails, automated project creation, tag tracking, notifications, date adjustments on due dates, and many other features. So that's our goal for this session, just to walk through to see the process of what has worked for us, what we've found through our 2-year learning curve, and hopefully give you some ideas and let you see how Financial Sense system itself works for you for workflows. So let me share up the template screen. So I'm showing you through Financial Sense is their template screen, which they do actually provide you predefined templates. They also have, you'll see, a library of user shared templates as well. Gives you a quicker starting point for setting up your own templates and workflows through various aspects. Bookkeepers have contributed, tax preparers have contributed, and accounting firms through financial statement preparation and other avenues have also contributed. So you can find most aspects of accounting related workflows, some very good examples, as well as onboarding employees, onboarding clients. So like I said, I want to show you for our lead tracking, we have a template set up, and we will actually add these templates to a client and see how they function throughout the progress of a project. But to start with, I want to show you the features for automation within even the template level before you even get to the project. So one, you can separate out by sections. So you'll see we have internal tasks that we have to do when we start out with lead tracking. Of course, you want to respond to the inquiry, but it reminds you what to do for that initial step. You want to set up a file. We have a separate file on our actual client server, and reminds us to do some follow-ups. But the second step would be schedule a prospect call. You'll see these small lightning bolts. That shows that there's automations on this task. And you'll see the client section is part 2. So as we complete our internal task, step 1 of setting up that discovery call, within this task, we actually made use of automations. So it will change. We use tags of getting started, when it's in process, And that way, at a glance through a dashboard, you can see the status of that client lead and what stage of the lead process they're in. Second section, using the section automation tool here, you will see, which I don't know why this isn't showing. When this section is complete, actually sorry, I'm getting confused. Under this automation, when we complete the first section, we can actually trigger to send an email or create a project off of the section or off of the last step. Also, within separate sections, under the client task, you'll see there's auto reminder options and there's a scheduled send. So what happens is when we complete the task, you see here, when we finished this first section of our internal tasks and we've just set up a call with the clients, once it's complete right here, it will actually trigger to send the client requests. So without having to do other than checking off that we scheduled the call, the client then gets these requests automatically. It will create, again, a customized email, as you can see also. Sorry about that. I'm clicking in the wrong spot. A customized email that you can set up based on your preferences and your verbiage with placeholders for client name, for project name, anything along those lines. Again, for more customizations for your firm, it will actually automatically send this request to the client, and we could preview the email that will look in this manner. They will get a notification that we are requesting these items, and they could go in and be able to either upload or fill in as needed the questions or the forms. So that's one step in the client automation process that we've started with our lead tracking. And again, auto reminders. Again, automation. We want that as much as we possibly can. You can choose how often you want to send these reminders of the clients that you need this information or you have these questions. And for our new client lead, since there is a scheduled meeting, we actually did a shorter reminder period. So most times that scheduled meeting is not very far out. So we do actually do it fairly quickly every 4 days just to kind of get that information underway before that meeting's scheduled. Sorry about that. And you'll see also within this client setup, there's days reference. And the 1 day off after. What in the world does that mean? So when you set up tasks within Financial Sense, you can do due date references. So you can set it either based on the start date that you set on the project, or you could do it based on the due date of the project. Either way, we use the start date simply because when we create this project, whatever start date we assign, this first task is due 1 day after that start date. This task is due 2 days after that start date. So if you ever change a start date on a project, let's say it doesn't start when you figured, it will then actually correct all the tasks going forward and correct those due dates per task. So that's what this due days after reference is. And you'll see they basically push out. We would want to kind of get an answer one way or the other within a 2-week period from that new client. Either we sign them on or it's a non-acceptance, and then we close out the project. And again, we'll see that as we create this into an actual project. The other feature that automates within the template setup is default template settings. We will hit on that under the text template, which is much more usage of those default settings because it's always the same dates, usually the same people. So
before we get,
yep.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but before we get too far away from it, I wanted to quickly interject something. One of the things that we, I get this question a lot, especially from those that are preparing tax returns.
Yep.
When you're talking about these due dates and setting them up, one of the things that I hear a lot is a lot of firms don't even set the start date until they get some information back from clients or something along those lines. So what I love about the ability to kind of set up the due dates to be after the start date is that if you were one of those folks who like, I can create a template, I can send out a request to the client, because as Jenna showed a minute ago, when we create this client tasks, we can set up that that notification to go out to the client. Hey, here's a list of things I need from you. We can set it up to where once that comes back and our team member then reconciles and says, oh, hey, all this information is correct, we got everything that we needed, they can then set the start date, which will then trigger all of your due dates from that point, which is really powerful. Because if I send out in February, right, I send out a list of things, like a bunch of requests to clients. As those things come in, I can then set my start date, which will then set up all my due dates for me. So it's really powerful to be able to have functionality and automation like this, because this is telling my employees when they need to actually start their work. And we can actually automate that. Hey, we create this project, we send it out, the client's automatically going to get the list of things that we need from them. Once they get that back to us, that's when our start date's going to happen. So if they don't get it back to us till April 1st, then we know we probably need to put them on extension. But we probably know at that point, like, hey, this is, this is the new due dates for it. So our team knows what to be working on and when to start working on those things.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
Thanks for pointing that out, George. That's one of the things that we use, the default template settings that we'll hit on in the tax template quickly, is all of them start the exact same day for all of our tax clients, the earliest anticipated date we would receive the information. And step one of that is reset the start date based on the date we receive the documents. So then the rest of the project dates change based on the day that we actually can start working on the return. So that's a great example. We actually make use of that, and it's a great tool. The one other piece of automation based on this template, again, if you see down through here, we're lead tracking. This isn't a landed client as of yet. Once we actually get the client, there's an additional automation, and I can't remember where we put it, that will actually create here, move client to onboarding checklist. So once we check this off, there is actually an automation here. It will create the project onto this lead client to onboard them so that they can be set up as an actual working client. And again, we use subtasks just to remind us. We change groups. So we have groups. Client groups are a tool within Financial Sense that you can then shorten your client list. So you can shorten your project list, the status. So if you just want to look at the lead status, if you want to look at any clients in midst of onboarding for the status, we use group codes to do that. So we remind ourselves to change the group code on that onboarding. So in that vein, we're just going to pop back into our templates just for a quick look on onboarding, because I do want to get to walking through the actual creation. So again, onboarding reminds us what we need to do. And you'll see the roles here. You can use roles, and you could set this up per task, what role would handle this task. So whoever is dealing with the client as a primary contact or the actual preparer in our firm, at least. You may have managing persons, you may have a onboarding specific person. So you don't even have to do a role. You can even do a name if you want to within a template setup. But that role maybe would be called client onboarding. And you could set that up again for doing invoicing. You set the role to bookkeeper. And then that way the automation takes over assigning the individual to this project when it is created. So once we get through the onboarding and we get into the tax preparation, we again still use these dates for the tasks, but a step 2 for date, for automation of the dates, you can also do date dependency. So in the start date, we may start this and get client documents, let's say on the 10th of February. If we hit that as the start date, then down here, the prepare returns would be due to start. This task should be done about 9 days after. We give ourselves generous deadlines in the setup. But how about for this follow-up, if it takes 2 weeks for the client to get us this follow-up information? So what we do is we do date dependencies as well. So within here, we can actually add a dependency. So this actually updates. So if it takes 2 weeks to complete that follow-up on information, this task of prepare tax return will then be pushed due 4 days after that final information is received. And thereby, each time you're checking off subsequent tasks, it updates the dependencies based on that follow-up information being received. So it changes basically, instead of 9 days, now it's 2 weeks later. 11 days, it's 2 weeks later. 14 days, it's 2 weeks later. So we actually added that and started using that this year. And it so far has worked out very well. And again, wanted to show you more detail for the tax defaults. We can set, again, if a template is consistently due or started on a very, very same date every single time, whether it be monthly bookkeeping. So if you're doing a monthly reconciliation and it's due by the 15th of the following month, and it's always due on that date, you can plug in template defaults. So that way, as you create the project, you're not filling all this information in. Again, you could do this quarterly, monthly. It's a default based on the template. So you could have monthly bookkeeping, you could have quarterly review, you can have annual review. So you would have 3 different templates, one with a default monthly repeat, a default quarterly repeat. You're not filling this information every time you create the project that way. So the template saves you, again, admin time. So we have this as a default start date of March 16th because we also do business returns. So we try to focus on the business returns first with the earlier due date, then the individual. But if we get the data on February 10th, like George pointed out, you change that date, start February 10th. All your task dates then line up. And we know what projects we're working on sooner than later because we have the information. And again, you can assign roles right within the tax default, the template default, if it's similar people for every template, or you would not put this choose assignee. I have to fill this in when I create the project. But all these are the same people. Again, if you have a bookkeeper, it's always the same person. Use the template defaults. So this is another level of automation at the template level. So I'm going to switch gears and do
Real quick.
Yep.
Sorry. Again, I'm going to just quickly interject. That part is also really important whenever you guys are using, like you saw the automation Jenna put in earlier, where it was on the lead template where she created the task that says, once this task is done, go create this other project. By having those defaults in place, that's going to allow you guys that ability to say, I already know how to assign the work. I already know who to send this up with. I already know what due dates all this needs to be set up with. So that allows the system to automatically create that and assign the work to the right people at the right times with the right due dates. All that is, that's where you really want to make sure, if you are using those automations to create templates or create projects automatically, you want to make sure that those default templates are set up. That way you at least have like your starting points of like, hey, this is what needs to happen when you auto create this, assign the work to these people so that it doesn't just get lost in the shuffle, right?
Yeah. So, and one of the questions was, are you alerted when info is received? Yes, you are. Financial Sense is great at alerting to things. It alerts when it's your quote turn to work on the project. So again, prepare to admin. Once the person receives client information, so if we get it in the mail, or if we maybe are emailed it directly versus through a client task, we can manually check this off. The admin is alerted that there's client information to go ahead and pull from Financial Sense and save it where we save it. Or you could also set up and it saves directly to a certain drive or folder that you choose, depending if that product integrates with Financial Sense. So you are alerted on task when it's your turn to do a task, when clients have submitted documents, when clients submitted a comment. There are plenty of alerts so you know what's going on, and you don't have to go dig through your work project pile in your workflow software. And the search feature is fairly robust. For the other question, I don't know how in-depth it goes, but it's more than sufficient for what I've found. I can't say to the specific extent of what it does or does not search. And template updates, I believe that's in process, that if you update a template that it then pushes down to the projects. Not as of yet. So we actually started fairly simple in our template designs and then added, again, this is our second full year using it. We did a common comment form that any updates that we could do and fixes. So we've streamlined them, and we already have a list of things to update on our templates. But you can then assign in bulk, for example, my 1040 tax, that group of clients that is an individual tax client. Again, we could filter based on that client group in Financial Sense. So we can assign that new template to all individual tax clients in about 3 clicks. So you can update, but you do have to then reassign the existing template at this point, but it is in the works, and I'm not quite sure the release date, but they do have weekly updates and lots of information on their site. So let's walk through and add this. We have an office client for all of our internal work. I'm just going to add our project process here. So we're going to create a project from our template. And the first one we're going to do quickly is for the lead client. So lead tracking, we're going to create. Again, you could do many clients. This is my example. And you could pick all 1040 clients, but we're going to do it for one under the office. Again, you pick your start and due date. And I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to do the due date for the same date, simply because then it will be at the top of the list and I don't have to go find it. You can assign recurring, but of course a lead would not be, but here's your options. And accounting period. So if you do, again, a monthly, quarterly, or annual, you would assign the appropriate calendar period and date. You got to watch your years and the end date, whatever that may be. This is not applicable for our lead. And you will see more options. Tax returns, very important. Use the due date extension, because if you extend it, it automatically changes that project due date for you. So you can have internal due dates if you choose, and other items here, but we don't have, again, all of this is optional. We do not have to do that. So we're just going to go ahead and next. And again, we had to choose. So some of it is role set up automatically. Some of it is not. This one is not, because it depends who is the primary client contact for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put myself for that. And then here's our live.
Quick note on, quick note on the, whenever you were creating the recurrences as well as the accounting periods, if you have the recurrence set up, say monthly, and this is a monthly project, if you set the accounting period for monthly, and let's say you go to April of 2025, the next month when it recurs, it will automatically know to select the next month or the next quarter, or however often it is you told it to recur, and whatever that next recurrence was going to be. So that is also automated, so you guys don't have to worry about that. And a good question that I know a lot of people are going to have is, if it does recur, when it recurs, it doesn't matter if the existing project has already been finished or not. So I know in a lot of other systems, if we're still working on April, then May won't recur. In Financial Sense, it will still automatically recur, whether or not that the prior month or the prior recurrence was created or not.
Yep.
So.
And one of the questions for Financial Sense specifically, do they charge for the extra automations? Some of these are at the scale level. A lot of it, though, is available at the normal, the mid-level, not the solo, but the lower end of the membership. All of the labeling All of these adding task changes for the labels are included on the lower level. The date, the template date setting for the task due dates, that's all included. I think automated emails may be the higher subscription, but you get a lot of bang for the buck for that lower, and a lot of the automation capability is in the regular subscription. But once you start using it, you probably would like to get up to the scale, because some of those automated emails that now we have started, because the first year we did the lower level, second year we decided to upgrade because we wanted automated emails, which I'll show you in the text thing, to go out to clients as better client communication. So you'll have to look, but a ton of what I'm going through is actually available in the lower level. So
and on the website, you guys can see, but yeah, the solo and team plan don't have some of the automation functionality, but there's a lot of the functionality that's still in both.
Yep. So for this, again, once you set the due date, you see now our task 1 day later, 2 days later is now transformed into the actual date ranges. So if I go through, and you won't see the client request, but if I go through, once I check this off and I complete this, see how this changes to sent automatically. So it has sent this request to the client. And again, our auto reminders are set for every 4 days. So within this schedule, it even tells you it was last sent the 20th. It will then next be sent on the 24th. So if you're curious how long it itself sent the reminder to the client, it will tell you. And again, there's no email address, so because I didn't set that up. But I just wanted to show you at least the internal automation. It does notify you. And right now we don't have the tag set up, but normally this would, let me refresh and see if that comes up. Yep. So the tags now that I checked off are showing that it is in process. And once the client tasks are done, and again, the client should be checking these off normally, but sometimes they might finish the questionnaire and email it directly. We can then manually complete the task for the client. And you notice it shows waiting on client because it's not all done. And it lets you know a reference of when the client completed or we marked it completed. So we're just going to pretend that the client finished everything. So once we get down to, again, move the client to the onboarding checklist. If you remember, this has an automated project creation. It should automatically create a client onboarding project under this lead client. So once I check that off, and let's say we're all done and we don't need to do this anymore, you can not have to check off all of them. Most of them, of course, through the process, you would check them off, but we wouldn't check off non-acceptance because now they've accepted. You don't have to check all the check boxes. You could just choose to close the project, or you check off all the boxes and it closes it automatically for you. And you get a lovely little celebration when you finish a project. But if we go back to our office now, you will see somewhere here, because we have too many things in the office, of course. Oh, refresh, hold on. And of course, normally you're not doing this and expecting it to be there 2 seconds later.
It may just be that it's all the way at the bottom.
Yep. So client onboarding is created. And again, here's the start date, because we finished the old one and the start date sets, and it has a pre-described date range of a due date set up in the template. So now we're ready to actually do the secondary process of getting the client set up in billing, invoicing for any deposits, setting them up in a contact list, whatever your internal process is. And that way, again, this is automatically set up as soon as you finish the lead and they accept, and you check that acceptance, it creates this project. So now it's in your project dashboard, which this is our internal, so I'm not going to be able to go over the dashboard with you. George might be able to show that briefly, but the automation is the key here. And it does create that project. It has it, again, predetermined because we set roles. The admin person will be setting them up, and that whoever does invoicing or billing will be pre-described this task because their role. So it automates the setup. I didn't really have to do anything to create this onboarding project. So similarly, quickly we can set up under Office, which I want to show you client tasks. Hold on, let me check my notes real quick. So then with the tax project, we're going to set up one other, and I'm going to give George's example when you change that start date. Yeah. And let me show you quickly for the many clients. Again, if you set up client groups, so if we do client groups for individual tax, we can assign our new, and this is great for getting started with Financial Sense. All you have to do is assign all your clients to the correct group. Are they a business return? Are they a monthly bookkeeping? Are they a quarterly bookkeeping? Then when you get your templates and your processes set up, we can assign this template to every single individual tax client we have just at a couple clicks that quickly. So it definitely speeds up the process of setting up or creating new templates to assign to clients, which is great.
As a side note, when you're first coming into Financial Sense, we actually have the ability to create, when we're importing your client list into the system, we can actually add them into the groups automatically. So you guys aren't having to come back and manually add those in after the fact. Yep. We make it really simple to create your groups and then assign them by client. And again, a single client can be a part of multiple groups, because it's very possible that, they're a part of Jenna's client groups, but also a part of the
yes,
the 1040 tax return group.
Absolutely. So if we have a software bookkeeping consulting client and an individual tax client, and they have a business because they're a Schedule C, we can group them. They will have multiple group tags because depending on what you're looking for, you want to be able to quickly reference what clients fall under that. So again, going through the template setup and automating, I don't have to enter any of this because it's already set up for me. Remember, on those default template settings. The only thing we did not default set up is it depends what year you start a client of what year they would be. So if this is a tax return and maybe they still haven't done last year's and they're on extension. So this actually will end up being a 24 tax year, right? And again, under more options, that due date extension. So normally all individuals are September 15th extended. You can do an internal date if you want to, and I will show you the handiness of that extension in just a minute. So again, that quickly we can set up a tax project. And again, it will recur, and I'll show you, like George commented, it will then, and I don't know why is it computers never work the way you want to when you're in a hurry? Always crazy. I tell you, always problematic. I don't know why it's stuck there. Never had that problem before, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen now. Oh, it's October for individuals, but maybe because I am not saving this.
Yeah, it's just showing the due date has to be after the
the
extension.
That's a good reason, right? We don't want that start date. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, George.
No problem. But the extension date needs to be, because the extension date showing 2025 and this is showing 2026. Yeah.
Because Financial Sense is too smart. It knows that I'm way off base on my years because I'm still thinking next tax season, not this tax season. So again, our roles are automated. I will choose me. Now, as soon as you create you have an option that you could notify everyone within this project that it's created. Again, somebody asked at notifications. You can be notified when something's assigned to you, when it's your turn on the task. There's tons of notification options within Financial Sense. So if we walk through this, and you'll see this, it shows you the due date, shows you the start date of the project, and you see the start date, January 17th. Remember, task 1 was due 1 day after start date, 2 days after start date, so on and so forth. We're not starting at January. We are starting it now. So under here, you can edit, and we're going to update our start date to reality of we're starting it on Friday, because we just got the signed engagement letter. And you see, once I change that start date, the due date hasn't changed yet, but you see the due dates of the task based on that start date have updated and now are future dated rather than all red in the past. Here's your extension when it comes in handy is if we filed an extension or the client now that we've now inherited has filed an extension, you can correct this due date simply by clicking your extend button. And you see now the due date is updated. It will also be updated in your project dashboard based on the due date simply with a click. So that's where tax returns, entering that extended due date is very handy, because as you file extensions for these clients, you can mark them as extended so that the due dates within your workflow management system are updated. So, and again, like George said, if we finish all of this, which I'm going to just complete it. And if we go into the office now, which will then have a much later due date, so it's probably at the end somewhere. No, update. It may be too far in the future, but usually it already would update. No. Huh. Again.
If you click on the 26 open projects, it should take you to a list of them. A little easier to view.
It should. There we go. So now you see the 1040 return shows up, same client, same project, now with next year's as the accounting period, quote unquote, in that setting, with then a future due date and the future April 15th due date, because we've completed this tax year 24, and now it's already set up for the 25 project. So that's where George had said it automatically creates. So as soon as you, even if you don't complete, if you have a monthly bookkeeping and it's January 30th, it will already create February. So even though you're still working on cleaning up January and doing the work, the client requests for the following project could be sent out even though you're not completed the prior project. So it's not, you're not restricted in one project being completed to be able to have the workflow exist for the next project. So I think I hit on most of the automation features that we use regularly. And again, if you send client tasks, the tag is automatically added for Financial Sense. It didn't show when I did it because I don't have the email put in, and maybe George can give that example in your sandbox copy. It automatically adds a tag to that project saying waiting on client. Once the client clicks and checks off all the boxes, it automatically updates to documents received. So in your workflow, just scanning the tags, you'll see who hasn't completed and who has. So it definitely is automated in that as well if you use these client tasks. You can set up client tasks like in the lead in the template level, because the lead requests are always the same. Client questionnaire, 2 years of returns. We don't set up necessarily the tax requests because each person can have very, very different and varied needs for their individual return. They might have W-2s, another might have 1099 interest, another might have an investment statement, another one might have a rental. So no one's quite the same. So we actually set that up as a client level. And when you add tasks, again, there's a level of automation. it will repeat with the following roll forward return if you so choose. The settings are within the task. You can recur it with project. So if it's a W-2, you want that to recur. If you know they closed an investment account, you might have it on the list, but you would uncheck that recur with project because it doesn't need to roll into the next year. So you can choose that. And you could also add a specific description to help the client know more specifically what you're looking for. And the client can directly comment on those client tasks through the portal. Not necessarily automation, but this recur with project is. So, and again, through Financial Sense, you can choose where the client uploads land. They can sit within the project. You can direct it, and I'm not sure what the tie-ins, George, but again, on the financial site, they will say you could actually pick a specific folder in integrated
System, like Smart Vault, and we're actually getting ready to release that with Google Drive and OneDrive as well. And I know we're running very short on time. I think we've already gone a little over, so we appreciate you guys holding on with us. But there are also, even with the tax returns, I've got a lot of customers that they'll create template with, like, generally speaking, these are the things that we're going to ask for, and then it's easy to go in and just kind of remove the things that you don't want for that specific client as well. So there's different ways of doing that as well. So I highly recommend, playing with it and checking it out and seeing what works best for your firm as well.
Yep, absolutely. And somebody asked if they can be logged into multiple places as an online cloud software. Yes. I actually have multiple windows open. So it's basically 2 separate logins in 2 separate screen areas of Financial Sense. I could do that on a whole separate computer or on my phone. It does not have an app per se, but it is functional to the point of being able to check off tasks or reply to comments through your web browser on your phone. I have not had a major issue with it. I wouldn't do hours of work that way, but for replying and keeping up when you're out running around, it is functional.
As well as being able to track time. I got a lot of people that like to track time on their phone, so they'll go in there and start the timer there.
Yep. And I didn't hit on the timer or anything along those lines. I really tried to focus for our use of automations was very, very heavy in the template setup and in the project for under the due dates. And I did mention automated email. So when we get through our tax return, we just added this year. So once we finish following up on the client information, feel like we have most of it, we actually have an automated email, not on that step, on prepare return to, no, okay.
I know we wanted to take a couple of questions before because I'm getting stickler for time here.
Yep.
Guys, we're going to take a couple of quick questions and then we'll wrap up the session. So if you guys want, go ahead and put in any questions. I'm going to see which ones we haven't answered. Someone's asking, can this integrate with ChatGPT? We actually do have some integrations that are already built into the system that uses an internal version of ChatGPT, so it doesn't take your information outside of the platform. Again, when you're dealing with AI, you want to be very careful of like what information is getting out. So this is using an internal version of it, so all that information stays secure. But we do have some ability to be able to say, I need to create a checklist for X, Y, and Z, and then it'll actually automatically create the tasks for you, and you can kind of go in and adjust them and customize them as well. Let's see, try to see if there's.
I saw someone asked if you always get the confetti. There is an option to turn off the confetti. I have no idea who would want to do that.
Why would you even want to do that? As long as you don't turn it off, you'll get it.
Yeah. And our clients even get it. Initially, the client tasks completion did not have confetti. And when it was added, we actually got specific comments from clients. Oh my gosh, it was great. I felt so good when I saw the confetti.
It is nice too for the customers to see that. It's good for you guys too, right? So
yep. So where you see your to-dos, George, I don't know if you can open the sandbox to show them because I can't show
Yeah,
client.
if you can stop sharing your screen, I can share mine
I
real quick,
will. Yep.
and I can quickly go in and do that. So there's let's see, share screen. Let's pick the right one. There we go. So what you guys will see over here, this is your workflow dashboard. So this is where you guys can go to see, and I'll come in here and set it up to where it just shows my work. So I see what work is sitting on my plate right now. There's also a tasks section where you can do the same thing and filter it just to show like your work. And this will show like your tasks to do. We are also adding for one-off tasks where they don't belong to a project. We're about to release a function for that as well. That's coming here in the very near future. So pay attention for that on one of the releases that we're going to do in the very near future on that one. But yeah, for now, like you can actually come in here and see and filter by due dates. You can filter by whether it's something's pending or if it's completed, if it's snoozed. You can filter by the assignee, so I could say just show me the work that's due for me. You can also filter by clients. So if I just want to see all my to-dos that are for a specific client, and if you have stuff like even now that's it's not related to a specific client, you can actually have it to where it's like, hey, this is unassigned, or show me things that aren't assigned to a specific client. I'll also create my own company as a client in the system so that if it's something that I need to do for the company, I can just assign it to that client, to the client as our company as our client. And then it shows me that as well. So I can see like any internal stuff I need to do.
And George, can you jump back to the project screen just so you point out the tags, the status tags? You'll see the color-coded status tags right in your project screen. And you could filter by those tags. Again, you can filter by waiting on client. So then you have a very specific list. If you are waiting for work and you need more workflow to get in, you can then have a very short list of which clients you want to kind of push. Maybe you want to do a direct email or a call to them to keep things moving.
Yeah. So you can filter by any of these tags. You can also say like, I want to only see the ones where I'm waiting on the client and it's in review. So if I say this is showing they either have the waiting on client tag or they're in review, or if I say must have all selected tags, it shows me the only ones that only the ones that have both of those tags. So there's all sorts of really cool things that we can do. And when you do this, what's also nice is that you can create reports based on that and then save those reports so that it shows you just that information. And you have these reports like always ready to go. So there's a lot of really cool functions built up that way as well. I definitely recommend, if you guys haven't seen it, we have a demo that we offer. You guys can do one-on-one, so you guys can ask your own individual questions. And we've got some really great account specialists that'll walk you guys through that. Or if you're on a trial, we'll actually help you set up your trial and show you guys how that functionality works, and we can help you guys get set up there as well. I'm going to put a link to the request the demo in the actual chat. That way you guys can go in there and quickly do that if you'd like. But our team's more than happy to work with you guys and show you guys any of the other functions. So let's see if there's any other questions that we missed. And then we will wrap it up. Let's see. What's the best way to create standardized templates for onboarding across all new clients? Again, I would create those templates in the actual template library, or go check and see what's in the open library. I love this function in the open library because you guys can search for all sorts of stuff. You can also filter by like where you're located. So if you guys are in Canada and you want to just see Canadian specific templates, you can. If you're in the United States and you want to see United States specific ones, you can. You can also filter by clients industry. So if I've got clients that are just strictly construction, I want to go filter by that. I can actually go filter by construction specific templates. So really is very helpful. So someone else asked a question, how does the client portal work? There's some really good functionality in there as well, because again, on the client side, since I know Jenna's not able to show that because that's her live account, on her end, I can actually show you guys client ends up getting a request, like when you send a request list to the client, ends up looking like this. They'll hit view and manage tasks, and then they're actually able to go into the portal. I'm a little bit cheating because I was already logged in, but if I do it again, you'll see this time it recognizes who I am, and it's going to send me a text message with the verification code. So I can then come into the platform and actually plug that in. All right, I did that without my glasses, so I'm really impressed. I didn't have to do that either. In here, if this one I had already completed, but if the client hadn't completed it, they would actually come in here and they'd be able to see everything that we've requested of them. If they go to the actual request section, they can see any open requests and any completed requests. They're also able to see the folders in which we've given them access to. In my case, you'll see I've actually got a single client who has multiple businesses, so they're able to come in here and this is what it looks like on their end, where they don't have to log in and out for different businesses. They can come in and actually see their information, and they can pick which one of their companies they want to log into to see the folders. There's a chat function as well where they can actually communicate with you guys. If you're using the recats feature or the uncategorized transactions, it'll actually pull up a request and say, hey, what was this for? So that they can then upload their receipts, tell you what the transaction was for, and then you guys are able to categorize it on your end. And if you're using our billing function, they can see and pay their invoices directly in here, right? They can also see and update their payment methods and select which one they want as their default. And they can actually see and view their proposals and sign those proposals directly in here. If you have it set up on the scale plan, you have the ability to add packages. They can select the package that they want to be able to go with. They'll be able to see what's all included with the different services. They're able to then go ahead and enter their payment information, whether it's credit card, ACH, and then you can make that required so they couldn't actually sign until they entered their payment information, but they can see the terms and conditions or your engagement letter, and then they can actually come in here and sign the document. Once they sign, it will then trigger a notification to your team, letting them know, hey, this client just signed. We need to start these processes of onboarding. We need to start the process of getting the work done for this client. So there's all sorts of really cool function in there as well. So I know we are running well over. Hopefully, if Jenna, I want to thank you for taking the time to actually go through this. It's always helpful when it's not just us showing how you could use the system, but how you are actually using the platform and the automations that you've created, and showing how you save so much time using the platform. So really appreciate you being here and joining in with us.
Everybody found it informative.
And thank all of you for attending. All right, guys. Tosin also just put in a link. You guys can start a free trial or book a demo with us. We're more than happy to go through it. Again, if you start a trial and you want to book a demo so that we can help you guys get it set up so you can trial while you actually have someone who's helped you set it up, we're more than happy to do that for you guys as well. All right. So I appreciate everybody. Hopefully you guys had a really good time here today with the summit. I want to make sure that, we're always here to help out. Hopefully you guys see that, we really want to invest in you guys. Hopefully you've seen all the great speakers. You've seen all of the great panels that we had, all the great sessions. I want to thank Tosin, our head of marketing, for putting all of this together. I want to thank Jenna and the rest of the speakers for joining us here and actually taking the time out of their days to put this on for everybody. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and just want to thank y'all for making it happen, because we wouldn't be able to put these on if it wasn't for y'all actually attending. So thanks everybody for, making this happen, and thanks to Tosin for pushing to get these sessions and getting all the hosts rounded up. And we really appreciate you guys putting this together, or for you putting this together, Tosin. So with that, I will let you guys be and have a wonderful rest of y'all's day. All right.